So, uh, awesome. I guess I'll just begin, Fiona. Just take it away, or
Per- Perfect. I'm just managing the waiting room here. I don't want anybody waiting outside. But thank you so much, Chen,
yeah,
for joining for doing this with
that's
us
fine.
today. And it is, as you said, like it's an international event today. There's people from all corners of the globe, which is really cool to see. But because we're in all different times, and it's a Friday, it's an afternoon for me, and for others, it's even later in the day. So we certainly don't want to use any time that we don't need to. But it's great to have you all here, and thank you so much. And thank you, Chen. I'll hand over to you.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you guys for joining. I've made sure this presentation won't be as long as last time because I don't think I managed to finish the whole presentation. So this one's gonna be short and sweet. So you guys can take back more of your time the day. But yeah, like my name's Chen. I'm the founder of Ginger Control, and today's session will kind of just be me sharing what I've been learning watching this industry every day. With the hope that when you walk out of here, you're a little more confident the next time an AI vendor actually calls you. So take your shoes off, get comfortable, and make sure like this is going to be as effective and no fluff, whatever, and so on and so forth. So awesome. Let's begin. Cool. So here's roughly what we're going to cover today. We'll start by looking at the AI landscape and some real numbers, like just to kind of ground us in what we're actually dealing with. Then I want to demystify what an AI tool actually is underneath all the marketing and the hype. Then we'll spend a bit of time on the four pillars of what I call safe AI adoption. And later we'll get into the certifications you keep seeing on websites such as like SOC 2, ISO 27, GDPR, and ISO 42 for AI. And I'll explain each one and what they actually mean. And then we'll also go into the EU AI Act, which has some important news literally, I think last week. So, but yeah, after that, I'll go into like a real story with one of our clients. We had the names removed, obviously, but about what can actually go wrong. And we'll end with five simple questions you can ask any kind of tech vendor, and three things you can take back to your team if they didn't make it. And from the session, if you only remember the four pillars, the cheat sheet, which I'll send you with this PDF, and the five questions, then you pretty much got everything you need for today. Cool. Sweet. So who am I? Who is this dude talking to you right now? A quick word about me, just so you understand. So I'm not a former customs broker. I am a builder. And what I've done at Ginger Control is surround the team with people who have done the work. So we work with advisors who are former customs officers, brokers, trade lawyers, and in-house compliance leads. So they bring the actual technical trade depth. My engineering team brings the speed, and that dynamic, that whole partnership, is essentially the whole company. So the reason I'm doing this webinar today is honestly is that pretty much every single week we talk to a new trade compliance team that either have they're currently talking to an ad vendor or had a previous bad experience with a tech vendor, and simply just feel like overwhelmed, right? Like the marketing all does sound the same, the promises are all the same, and like they're being asked by their leadership to make a decision quickly. So this session is kind of for them and probably for you as well when you go forward. So cool. So what we actually do. So once, just like one kind of slide about us, right? So we are the AI infrastructure for unified global trade compliance. So what does that actually mean? What that means in practice is we sit underneath the workflows your trade team already uses, like classification, screening, drawback, FTA origin. There's essentially a reasoning layer that's auditable. There's a data layer that keeps your information where it should be, and there's also regulatory feeds that updates daily. And the reason why I want to show you this kind of small diagram is because every AI tool you'll evaluate this year has roughly this kind of shape. And the question is like, how well is each of these layer built, right? And we'll come back to this later, but awesome. Cool. So the landscape, three numbers. First, there are roughly 212,000 active AI companies operating globally as of late 2025. The number of that is growing roughly around 10% every year. So next year, we're roughly around 232,000. Year after that, 250,000. And these are not all serious companies. Many of them are actually just wrappers around ChatGPT with a nice user interface. Cool. Second number, 80% of enterprise AI projects fail to deliver the intended business value. So based on extensive interviews with data scientists, engineers who actually worked on this day to day, third number, and is actually, I think, the most interesting, is 95% of generative AI pilots deliver zero measurable P&L impact. And the technology is actually really the reason why. The reasons are almost always the same, which are poor data foundations, unclear governance, and a lack of trust. What this means for you sitting in your seat today is this. The vendor you choose this year statistically will not be here in the next 3 years. So how you actually go about this matters more than what you kind of choose. So awesome. For sure. I want to kind of spend a moment on something that I think is the biggest shift in software in 20 years. So for the last decade, software, we competed on features. So for example, whoever had the best classification tool, the best screening tool, the best drawback tool, like they won that workflow. And you bought it, you ran it, and then you probably replaced it in 3 years. The next decade will fundamentally be different. So the competition is no longer about features. It's now about the data layer. So whoever owns the cleanest, best governed data layer wins everything that sits on top. So the AI, the automation, the agents, they're really only as smart as the data foundation underneath them. So if your data is messy, your AI is going to give you messy answers, right? If your governance is weak, your agents are going to make mistakes. If your access controls are loose, your data is most likely going to end up in places it really shouldn't be. Cool. So when you are evaluating any AI tool from now on, like my honest advice is just spend less time on the features and spend more time on the technical data architecture. The features will change, but the foundational layer that will be forever. So awesome. Cool. Under the hood. So let me try and to demystify what an AI tool actually is, because the marketing and the hype, I think it makes it sound much more complicated than it really needs to be. So every AI tool you'll ever look at is made of these three things. So number one, the model. Okay, think of this as like the brains. It's almost always GPT, Claude, Gemini, or a small specialized model. Cool. Your vendor is using one of these. Now they might not say so on the website, but they are. So the first question you should actually ask them is, which model do you actually use and which version? And if they're very like dodgy about it, they can't tell you, that kind of indicates something, right? So number two, the data. This is what the tool knows and what it does with the information. Okay, it includes the training data, the tariff schedules, the sanction lists, and crucially your own data once you upload it. And the question here is like, where does my data live and who else can see it? So geography, access, just like simple questions. Number three, the workflow. So how the tool actually fits within your team's day, what it actually does to you, and what it asks you to confirm, what it records for the auditor later. So the best question here is, can they actually show me the process end to end? So to give a trade example, from the moment a classification request comes in to the moment it's saved in the audit trail, if they can show you that workflow seamlessly, then it's real. And if they fumble, then it's probably like it's usually a bad sign. So yeah, 3 layers, 3 questions. So that's that. Cool. Now, here's what I would call. Okay, if you wrote nothing else down today, this is probably one of the most important slides. So the 4 pillars of safe AI adoption. Pillar 1, data architecture. This is the blueprint underneath everything. So how is your information structured? Like where it's stored? How does it connect to other systems? If the vendor you're looking at can't draw you their data architecture in a very clear way, they probably don't really have a standardized process, which means it's not going to be as firm or robust. Well, pillar 2, data governance, the rules. So who decides what data is allowed where? Who reviews it? Who signs off on changes? Data governance is what stops accidents from being catastrophes. Pillar 3, access control. So who can see what, right? it sounds kind of obvious, but it's actually where most breaches happen. And it's not always the wrong person kind of breaking in, right? It's actually often more so the right person seeing the wrong data because the permissions weren't set up properly in the beginning. So yeah, pillar 4, security, basically kind of the hygiene. So think like encryption, audit logs, certifications like SOC 2, ISO 27, incident responses. So this is the layer that protects you when, not if something goes wrong. Here's like a simple test I'd recommend. Like if you actually are looking for like a tech or AI vendor, ask them these 4 points and to just make it like, see if they have like a document or if they can actually explain to you on the like on the spot. Just not like, I feel like a lot of technical people, what they like to do is they like to hide a lot of the actual technical parts and very complex language, and just makes it very hard for you to understand. And sometimes, I think most of the time, people just they sound like, oh, these guys sound like they know what they're doing. I'm just gonna like accept it and then go for it. So you don't do that. You want them to break it down for you in simple language. So cool, awesome. Certifications. So if you have seen like our website or other people's website, you'll notice that there was like a certification section because this is where most vendors love to confuse you. So I'm sure you've heard of SOC 2 Type 2. When people say, oh, give me a SOC 2 report, no one really knows what that actually means. It is a 50-page, 60-page document. But anyways, so there are essentially 4 you should actually care about. First is SOC 2 Type 2. This is an American security audit. Type 2, okay, is what you want, not type 1. Type 1 is just a snapshot, basically kind of saying, here's what we have like right now. Type 2 proves the vendor's controls actually held up over 6 to 12 months of real operation. So when a vendor says, oh, we have SOC 2, your follow-up question is always, is it type 2, right? If they only have type 1, you can ask them when type 2 is happening. And if they say it's on the roadmap with no real date, kind of a red flag. Cool. Second, ISO 27001. This is the international standard for information security management. In Europe, this is often more familiar than SOC 2, and it's slightly different. It's not just about controls being in place. Okay, it's talking about whether the vendor has a documented, audited system for managing security risk. So you want to ask for the certificate number and the scope. The reason why you want to ask for the scope is because some vendors get certified for one part of the business and not necessarily the AI service that you're actually buying. So make sure that the whole what do you call it? The whole area is covered. Cool. Third, GDPR. This isn't really like a certification. It's more like a legal obligation. Like it's EU law. I'm sure you're all very familiar. Every vendor handling EU personal data must offer a data processing agreement. So they must have a name contact and a document where your data is going to live. And the fines can actually go up to 4% of global turnover. The simple test, and I really mean this, is if a vendor does not give you a DPA within 24 hours of asking, you don't walk away. Like the thing that I'm saying is right now is like, if they are a robust and promising company, they've already thought through the data layers thoroughly, and that's usually a very green flag. You just want to like, kind of avoid the people that are in the AI race for the hype that would leave in like say in a few months' time. So, anyways, I digress. Fourth, and this is the newest one, ISO 42001. Published late in 2023. It's the first international standard specifically for AI management systems. So most vendors don't actually have it yet because it is quite new. But a vendor with ISO 442 or one with a clear data roadmap to get there is signaling that they take AI governance very seriously as well. It's not just security hygiene. This is one to watch over the next 2 years or so. I think it'll be more and more common. Awesome. Cool. Now, the EU AI Act, the first comprehensive AI law in the world, came into force, I think it was August 2024. And there's been some really important news, literally just, I think, last week or so, that I want you to be aware of. The act sorts AI into 4 risk tiers. So take a look at the diagram on the left. Tier 1, you have unacceptable risk, banned outright. Okay, so social scoring, manipulative AI, untargeted facial scraping. This is already banned since February 2025. Tier 2, which is high risk, heavily regulated. Things like border control by public authorities, employment screening, critical infrastructure. Originally, these were due to apply from August 2026. But yeah, here's news. Like, I think before I kind of go forward here, just take a step back. I think as a person that perhaps isn't so literate about AI, really what you want to do is just make sure that you have a guide. And the guide, sorry, I can't really feel here, it will be in this PDF, and then I'll send it to you. Fiona will send it to you later on. But yeah, it's okay to be kind of overwhelmed by everything. There is a lot of information, but yeah, cool. Anyways, kind of go back into this. Sweet. So as of May 7th, 2026, the EU reached a provisional political agreement to defer Annex 3, which is a high-risk obligations, to December 2027. So I want to flag this still requires formal adoption before it becomes law. So treat it as like a likely outcome. So not the done deal set in stone. Cool. Sweet. Now, for the tier 3, the limited risk, this is where most commercial trade compliance tools sit. So transparency obligations apply, telling users that they're actually using AI, labeling outputs as AI generated. This still applies from August 2026. You probably also notice, like on LinkedIn, some people's profile has like that small icon that signals that it's AI generated. So things like this will be more and more common overall in the world over the next few years. Just cool. Sweet. So tier 4, which is minimal risk, basically unregulated. So spam filters, video game AI, etc. Now, look at the right side of this PDF. So this is the part where it's going to be most important for you. The moment you use AI to inform a customs declaration, you become a deployer under the Act. So what that means is the liability stays with you, like the filer. Even at limited risk, there are 4 things you must have. So human in the loop, reviewing and signing off all the decisions, documented decision rationale, so written and retained, audit logs, so inputs, outputs, model version, confidence scores, and trained staff. So AI literacy training has been in force since February 2025. So if your team is using AI today and they are not AI literate, I think your team's kind of already falling behind. So make sure that you're taking the courses. I believe Claude has like a free course as well. There's with a simple Google search, you'll find a lot of these AI fluency programs. So yeah, and to kind of give you the idea, so you can get a sense of the stakes, up to 35 million euros or 7% of global turnover for prohibited use for penalties, and roughly 15 million euros for or 3% of high risk failures. So this is like this is not to be joked around. This is pretty serious. Cool, awesome. The cheat sheet. Cool. So take a deep breath. I feel like I've just like threw a bajillion points of information at you. So and also a lot. So I created like a small kind of framework for you to use and understand if you don't retain everything. This one slide is a summary of everything we kind of just covered. So take a picture of it, or you can just wait when you want to send it to you. This is people will actually start to understand why these matters more in the future. And the quicker you get on this bandwagon, the better you are at handling or choosing the right vendors. And basically what it means is the next 10 years, your company will be in better shape to streamline all these different processes, whatever it is. So cool. 5 rows, each certification or regulation, what it is, why it matters, and what status you should expect from a serious vendor. If you remember nothing else from those last 15 minutes, like take like a mental note. And the note on the bottom is also very important. So the EU AI Act timelines were updated just like last week. So if you read older guidance from August 2026 for high risk, just know that for Annex 3, that is now December 2027. Cool. Wait, now let me tell you a story. This is a situation that happened with one of our clients. they gave us permission under NDA to protect the identity, as you can imagine. We've taken out the names and mixed in some details from a small number of similar incidents we've seen across the market. But the lesson belongs to them. So it's very, yeah, this is something you don't want to happen. Cool. So the setup, a global importer, okay, a multi-billion in annual customs value business. 12 subsidiaries across Europe, Asia, and the Americas. It's a pretty serious operation. So about a year before our story starts, they signed on an AI vendor for classification and screening. So we started last year, September 2025. They came to us and, they talked to us, hey, we're developing this tool. You guys seem promising. Let's talk. The ones they showed us, their pilot looked great. I think that the salesperson was also quite good. So they signed a contract with them quite quickly because, there was a lot of pressure to onboard new AI tools from leadership, etc. So to tick that box. But yeah, what went wrong is that the vendor had built on a shared data architecture. Now, what does that actually mean? Okay. It means customer data was logically separated on paper, but not physically separated underneath. So different customers were sitting in the same actual data store with software permissions deciding who saw what. And one day in a routine update, a misconfigured permission set briefly the exposed parts of the importer's classification history and other sections too, such as like supplier lists, shipment level pricing to other customers of the same exact AI vendor. So, think other companies and their competitors. And the worst part is the importer didn't find out from the actual vendor. They actually found out from their competitor who noticed something was like familiar in their own dashboard because so much of this UI and data is so intertwined that with the wrong setup, it's just the data breach is quite substantial, right? Cool. But anyways, by the time the security from the breach, the data had already been visible for 11 days. None of it had been encrypted at the application layer. And yeah, so a total of 11 days of confidential data exposed to competitors. And no one really knew or was aware, right? And as you can imagine, at an operation at their level, it's quite serious. Cool. Now, what followed? Okay. Now, what followed was also quite important. So, because the consequences are the part of almost, because the consequences are the part that almost no one no one discusses when people are talking about AI safety, they're not really theoretical and they do compound over the years. So, consequence one, GDPR breach notifications. So typically required within 72 hours to protect data, to data protection authorities in every affected jurisdiction. The importer's legal team had to file in 11 countries, right? And the direct fines actually reached up to 4.2 million euros across the EU and the UK. Consequence two, a customs authority review. So 3 national customs authorities opened audits to verify that classification decisions had not been compromised. So those audits took roughly around 18 months and 6 declarations had to be refiled. Now, consequence 3, supplier relationships, right? As you can imagine, data was exposed, information was leaked. 3 key suppliers learned that their pricing had been exposed to the other competitors. So 2 had demanded renegotiation and 1 ended the relationship entirely. Consequence 4, and this is like the most quietest and the most painful, like internal trust actually collapsed. So the trade compliance team had championed this tool, right? They evaluated it, they talked about it, built a relationship, everything was great. There's great kind of goal they're working towards, X amount of efficiency, cost saving, whatever with AI. And they said yes to it. They brought it to the team and they're like, hey guys, it's really great tool, etc. Their authority to evaluate new technology was in effect frozen for like 2 years. And another team, another department, procurement and IT, took over the future vendor decisions with compliance kind of becoming like more like a stakeholder, not really a decision maker. And just as a professional, that's reputation matters, right? So awesome. Consequence 5, the vendor's response. So the vendor invoked a limitation of liability clause, which capped damages at 12 months of fees. So total recovery from the vendor was roughly only 1.5% of the total losses. So The lesson, plainly, so the cost of skipping data diligence is really justifying. It is the trust, okay? The trust of regulators, the trust of suppliers, the trust your leadership has in you to make these decisions. Awesome. Cool. Okay, so um, 5 questions. Uh, so what do you do? Okay, how do you prepare yourself? You don't need to be a security expert to understand everything here. You just need to ask these things in writing and listen carefully to whether the questions, the answers are clear or evasive. So question one, where does my data live? So that's just geography. So every point of data is stored in some region, right? If say for us, if we're dealing with export compliance data, that physical cloud, that hardware needs to be stored on American soil, right? Cool. Same question two, who else can see it? So sub-processors, uh, other customers, the AI model provider. Um, a serious vendor has like an actual list of every party that is able that touches your data or could touch your data. Question three, what happens when the model is wrong? Because there is no AI without errors. AI still hallucinates. It's not 100% accurate all the time. The question is what the tool does when the system makes a mistake. Is there a review set? Is there an audit trail? Was there a human signing off? If the answer was, oh, our model is accurate, that's just not simply good enough. Question four, what is your SOC 2 status? So we already kind of talked about SOC 2 Type 2, but SOC 2 Type 2 is actually the baseline security certification, especially when we're dealing with international trade compliance data. So they only have type 1 or they have an in progress status with no date for the SOC 2 type 2. That kind of tells you how mature the security program is. Question 5, can you actually talk to one of their customers? Like a reference call, okay, not just like a logo on the website. Someone that's using their tools right now, okay? So if you can actually get them on a call and verify that everything works as is, no problems, etc., that's a pretty good sign. Otherwise, you're most likely going to be the experiment. But yeah, that's kind of 5 questions, and the answers kind of tell you everything you need to know. And if you do have any questions about this, feel free to hit me up on LinkedIn or something. But awesome, cool. One more diagram, I promise, and then we're nearly finished. So like I said, it's gonna be short and sweet. This is what a healthy AI stack actually looks like. When the 4 pillars are in place, I want you to see this because it's the picture you should keep in your head when you are evaluating almost any AI vendor. So at the top, the workflows. What your team actually does, the AI assists, right? The human signs off. Every decision is recorded. Below that, the AI and reasoning layer. So the model is named, okay, the logic is auditable. Uh, low confidence scores, low confidence cases get routed to a qualified reviewer automatically. Underneath that, you have governance and access. So per entity permission, role-based controls, a full log of who saw what and when. And below that, the data foundation. So your data in your region encrypted, physically isolated from other tenants. So it's just yours alone. And then underneath everything, trust and certification. SOC 2 Type 2, ISO 27, GDPR posture, public sub-processor list, the hygiene that runs through essentially the whole stack. So yeah, this is what a healthy stack looks like. Each independent, each with their own controls. So yeah, just take a mental note. Awesome. Sweet. We're almost done. So let me leave you with 3 things to take back to your team. Short enough to share in a message, important enough to act on. So 1, the future is going to be data. Spend less time on evaluating features. Okay. Spend more time on evaluating the data architecture underneath. The features will change like every 6 months. The data layer will be there forever. 2, 4 pillars: data architecture, data governance, access controls, security. If the person you are talking to cannot explain all in plain language, they are not ready for your business. Okay. 3, slow down to actually speed up. I know that there is a lot of pressure to adopt AI. Like everyone's kind of feeling it. They don't want to be left behind. But the cost of doing it badly is so much higher than the cost of doing it carefully. Okay. A 30-day pilot designed properly prevents like a 3-year miss. So give yourself kind of permission to slow down and actually think whether or not you want to go forward. Yeah, awesome, cool. Kind of before we kind of wrap this up, I kind of want to show you what we've been working on. It does cover the last 25 minutes, and if you follow me on LinkedIn, you know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to share my browser really quickly to give me a quick second, if you don't mind. But yeah, feel free to like grab a drink, grab a coffee or something. Awesome. Okay. Also, if there are any questions, feel free to chuck them now while we kind of do this. Okay.
Alex was actually asking about would the AI data security standards you're talking about, will they get to the US in your webinar? So I don't think this webinar, but unless Chen, you have any comment on that.
Also, will the US data security webinar?
Would the AI data security standards you're talking about,
Mhm.
like, will we get to the US? I guess, Alex, you mean, will we get to the US standards in this webinar? I think that's the question.
What I mean, hi, Fiona, and
Hi,
thank you for the webinar, guys. The question I have for you is that, for example, I use Claude, I use AI to use a lot of data analysis. The problem that I'm having is I'm hearing now the ISO for Europe and a lot of security data. But the thing is, as far as the US is concerned, I don't, maybe I missed a webinar or maybe there's something else that I have to look into. I don't see any security as far as that. Where is the data? What happens to the data in US?
Mm, mm. Do you mean from like a physical implementation standpoint, like say that you adopted us today? Is there a structure to where where the data will be stored? Typically, like the just so you guys know, most of these big players, such as CargoWise, we're not going to talk about OpenAI or Claude because they're pretty established. But these very vertically focused tech companies, they typically they do have like SOC 2 and these different what do I say it uh essential requirements. But when it comes to like FedRAMP and all these other extra ones that I say are more important, uh people just don't know that how necessary they are, so that they tend to overlook them. Even with SOC 2 and in the startup world today, there is also quite a controversy. People saying that, oh, SOC 2 is just like another tick in the box, or it's just a document. No one actually adheres to it, because say that if a company, a new startup today, raises $5 billion and then has like this great tool, who's going to actually verify that their system is legit? And how are you personally as a client going to go into their system and verify? No. And not to kind of like add fuel to the flame, but there was actually an incident, I think about 3 months ago, where there was a compliance certificate provider where they were essentially forging these different certificates, which is really bad. They got caught, fined a lot of money. But I think like what the signals you should look for is like, are they actually paying attention to all of these different badges, we should say? Like, do they have SOC 2? If they are, if you ask them, do they give it to you? And then it's even better if you have an IT team, because they'll actually understand architecture. But in the case of the US, like I know a few of my startup friends, maybe only a handful of them have SOC 2 and all these different things. But I think not the gray area, the hard part is because they're a startup as well. They haven't been in the game for even like a year or two, right? So if you are thinking of adopting a new technology, you as the client or as a person that's going to use this tool, you can use AI like Claude to help you kind of like analyze all the documentation they give you. But you just got to make sure that in these conversations, they're not trying to confuse you with all this technical jargon, right? As long as they have SOC 2 Type 2, ISO 27, that's pretty much the standard. GDPR, if you're in the EU, and ISO 42, probably the most important one going forward, as it is new and AI focused. But Yeah, no, I think to answer your question, in the US, typically the data governance isn't as secure as it could be, but the trend where it's going towards, it will be more and more important, especially with all these different layers applied to agentic AI. So hopefully that answers the question.
Okay, thank you very much. This is only for a company that would supply the AI, but if I use Claude or AI agents online, agentic, it's okay. Or is the same?
So when we say agentic AI, so there are
Uh-huh.
two types, right? So one, they create an agentic layer for you and your company. Okay. Now may I ask what the scope actually is for this project?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. So I have a daily project that I'm doing with the AI, and which is like to like I download a lot of files, maybe 12 or 14 Excel files from a system of U.S. Customs, and it's a system within the system of the ACE called CAPE. Now these sheets have a lot of data. Once I actually have that data, I call it the raw data. I then feed it to Claude, and then I have Claude to actually give me back some Excels back. But it has a lot of sensitive information, entry numbers, and I'm an importer, not a broker, but I'm an importer. So and I'm trying to understand what happens to that data when it's actually out there.
Yeah.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah. So generally, you don't want to upload sensitive data into Claude and OpenAI, but I think it's kind of inevitable. For you, yeah, I probably wouldn't do that for you. Like,
Huh.
uploading to data, combination information from like ACE and everything in Claude generally is a breach of security.
Okay.
But say that if generally you want to find an AI partner in logistics field that can help you process information in a safer way. Because if you just
Okay.
upload the data into the out of the box LLMs, I mean they have that information leak risk, like Ryan said. So yeah, no, you definitely want to find a tool or someone that can actually help you process it in a closed
Okay.
environment. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Thank you.
cool, awesome. Let me. I might have to share my whole screen. Hope you guys don't mind. Give me a quick second. Oh, okay, cool, awesome. So this is kind of our recent kind of product. So the product sandbox and also our compliance radar. So if you don't know what this is kind of our light version of what we're doing for our enterprise clients. What I really want to show today was more so the compliance radar. Now, you guys get a lot of information every day, whether it's from, if you're in the US, you get CSMS, Federal Register, White House, etc. This right now will mainly be focused on US imports, but a lot of tools already kind of do this. They kind of give you the all this information in a digestible format. What we want to do was take the next step forward. So how can we actually get this information and help you make it an actual item for your existing product base? So if you work, say, with, I don't know, sugar or like food, you're able to actually plug in the HTS code. And the system will remember that you are in this industry, such as food or biotech or whatever, right? And with our live compliance hub, because this is kind of like it's starting to become like a whole seamless process. We have a tariff calculator. I'm not going to go through these because you guys probably already know HTS classification system. The system will be in a closed environment, so the data will be safe. We do have a certification, by the way, if you didn't know. So say that you upload or classify a certain spec sheet, it will be loaded and stored in this list here. Now, this list also gets transferred into the product sandbox. If you are an importer and have a lot of items to classify or audit or reclassify, you can upload a CSV into the system, and it's able to let you know whether or not your HTS code is out of date. Okay, and this information is given from the CSMS, from the briefings you get on a daily basis. So what this means that you're able to have a process where every every day, if there is a new kind of email or whatever, it simultaneously updates your own database too. This is just something we worked on with another importer that has had like a data cleaning problem. They had to reorder, reclassify things on a quarterly basis because there was just so much to do. And this corresponds with the compliance radar, because say that you get a new anti-dumping order on fructose, right, from China. It's able to let you know, okay, you need to recalculate your tariffs. And because for us, going into the future of trade compliance, what the way that's going to work with AI is going to be a predictive, proactive plane. What does that actually mean? So to kind of illustrate the idea, if there is a notice that's not implemented yet, our system will kind of like hold it here in this area where it gives you a confidence score whether or not it will be applied. Okay, so say that warehouse train for this specific one is pending 30 days. Like, what does that actually mean? Potential impact. Okay, you'll see what actually translates to in terms of duty, etc. But yeah, what I'm trying to illustrate here is that other than the fact that to use our tool, AI and technology will be going in a direction where there will be so much data layers, and the way that the company actually creates that system in a very seamless and elegant way, which doesn't break or intrude into other people's databases. It will be very important, which is why I do stress on understanding data governance and data. Anyone that's not talking about data it's in this field, very big red flag. And frankly, a lot of these new startups, there are young people that are like 18 that just graduated, dropped out of high school, raised a few $1 million, and just thinking they're going to take on the world, but they don't have the slightest understanding of the realities of if they don't take the right precautions, what that means for the client, because it can be catastrophic. But yeah, awesome. Let's go back to the presentation. Okay. Cool. So if you are curious about using the tools, or you just want to join our community, we are starting a small circle for people that are AI centric or believe in the future of AI. Feel free to scan this code. We'd love to have you there. If you do join, you'll be able to get essentially like first access to our tools later on, existing and later on. Yeah, and that's pretty much it. Short and sweet, like I said. Oh, sorry, maybe I'll just leave this here so you guys can scan if you want to join. I'd love to see you there in the group, by the way. And yeah, questions for everyone. Cool. Are there any questions from anyone? No? Okay. Well, I can't really see the chat.
Yeah. I just have one quick question. Sorry. I just wanted to rephrase one thing that I said. Yes, of course it's data sensitive data that I have. It's my importer information. So when you say you shouldn't do that, I just want to say I think I'm in compliance because it's only my data. That's all. That's all. And thank you very much for the webinar today.
Yeah, no, like for you, because it is your data, it's fine. But generally, like for customs brokers or like usually the importers we work with, they have their own customs broker department. So yeah, it's more of a problem of their internal structure, like whether or not they're okay with letting the data be leaked in like these out-of-the-box LLM tools.
Absolutely.
But if it's your data, then absolutely, it's like me,
Yes.
Even, but yeah. Also, thank you very much for the questions, by the way.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Thanks, Chen. I just joined your WhatsApp group.
Thank you, everyone for joining today. And yeah, I hope you wish you all the best in your AI journey. If you have any questions, feel free to message me on LinkedIn. But awesome. Thank you very much.
If I just may, before everybody goes, we are doing the part 3 of this series on the 19th of June. So I'm just going to put the registration link on that into the chat. And if anybody here, Alexandra and I were speaking about this, if anybody wants a region-specific analysis of AI, because today, I mean, today is great, but look, we're only here for 45 minutes or an hour, so it's really hard to deep dive into the subject because there's just so much to talk about. And then to add on the extra layer of complexities, between the EU and the US and Asia, different regulatory requirements depending on the different parts of the world. So, my point is that if you would like something more specific to your region, we can certainly do that. Just let us know.
No,
But,
I agree completely. This like our initial scope was North America, and there's already so much there, and
Yeah.
we haven't spent nearly like half the time in the EU. So yeah, you know, that's something people want. We can definitely dive deeper. Happy to do so. Yeah, cool,
Thanks.
awesome.
Hi, actually, if there's still a minute, can you hear me?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
Yes.
my name is Diksha, and I'm a consultant in trade compliance, and I run my own thing, pretty much a solo person. Um, so all this AI stuff is interesting because the way I use it is really at a very high level, obviously for client confidentiality and like what you've shared. Um, in terms of what you offer, the other part is I missed the first part of the presentation, and I'm very interested to know what I can adopt. Is there a way you might share these slides, or do you share any? And is there somewhere I can read up more to understand what you provide?
Yeah, so the slides will be sent to you after this session.
Okay.
If you want to learn more about what we do,
Yeah.
either you can, you know, we can talk after, like, some information. You can go to our website, gingercontrol.com as well. Yeah, maybe I'll type that in or something. But yeah, I'm also on LinkedIn, and even
Okay.
if you join the circles, I can talk to you there. It's basically a direct line to me. So yeah,
Perfect.
may I ask what specifically you were looking for?
So I want to adopt AI into my own world. Obviously, now client confidentiality is huge for me, and
Yes.
I'm a very small trade compliance entrepreneur consultant just starting out, and so obviously any kind of investment into anything
Hmm.
is not so straightforward as the big guns, right? So I want to be
Hmm.
sure about what's really working, what is confidential, holds their confidentiality safely. I have very basic systems in place. I don't have an IT team. So what's going to make sense? What's not going to be crazy expensive? That's the kind of thing I'm looking for.
I see. I see. Gotcha. Yeah. Send me a message. I'd love to have a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you. Yeah. But yeah. Cool. Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you're muted, Fiona. If you.
I I did that after I said something before because I don't want to have any background noise. But thanks a million, everybody, for joining us. And Jen, you're a genius at what you do, and we really appreciate your time. And
Thank
we
you.
look
Thank
forward
you.
to
Yeah.
I've put your LinkedIn address up there, so follow. I mean, Jen has just you have your ear to the ground when it comes to all things AI and trade compliance, which is a really nice link, particularly given the conversation that we're having today. So, and you often publish articles and just your thoughts on LinkedIn, which I always find really interesting. So I advise everybody to follow you on LinkedIn. And then I just popped in the link there for just to register for our next webinar, which is in June, next month, actually. So for part 3. And if there's anything that anybody specifically wants us to discuss, send us a quick note. And lastly, I will circulate the presentation to everybody afterwards. Thanks a million. Thank you, Chen. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. Thank you, Fiona, for hosting this session. And I really look forward to seeing you guys there. And AI is here to stay. So hope we do our best and do everything really wisely. Yeah. Awesome.
Excellent. Brilliant. Thanks,
Cool.
everyone.
Thank you.
Have a lovely weekend.
Thank you. Bye. Bye-bye.
See ya. Bye-bye.